Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Around the JFL podcast. This is the second episode. We are in week one of season six. We are wrapping up the week. It is right before the night games, the Salamanders and Hoplites, and the primetime game of the Corsairs and Kingfishers hasn't happened yet, but the rest of week one has occurred, and we're here to talk a little bit about the draft that happened. Our last episode was right before the season six draft, so we're going to talk about that and then talk about this season a little bit, our projections, and a few other fun topics. So let's get right into it. We want to recap the season six draft. Start off with like the first round. Talk about some exciting, interesting picks. What we thought was going to happen, and yeah, Tristan, what do you think about the first overall pick?
I don't. I think the first overall pick was a complete no-brainer and completely expected. We all knew the Jackals going into season six wanted to find a new quarterback, and they had publicly said they are either going to take Gordon Golden or Kayvon Holland. And due to the Pat Ross investigation, it was up in the air for a while, but eventually the Jackals did settle on the Giesman winner, and I'm not surprised by it at all.
This is a no brainer. He's the Giesman winner. They desperately need a franchise quarterback turnaround. Just the main thing about this pick is that it was their pick originally. They traded it to the Cobras, and then they got it back from the Cobras for basically pennies in a pond, and then got the first overall pick, Giesman winning quarterback. Like it's just unfair, really. But good for the Jackals.
Yeah.
Really, let's talk about the second pick, where I think it really gets interesting. Your team, the Sabres, took linebacker Alaric Dredd, which
Ah.
I personally was predicting something more bold on the offensive side of the ball. I think this was the right pick, but I actually expected you to take Shiloh Lamprey or Thurman Giesman. So why don't you talk about that draft pick?
Yeah. So I really saw there was a defensive jump from season four when I came into season five, but I did know that everything was being done kind of through my D line that I spent all of season five trying to shore up. Um, and so Lance Teakin coming off an All Pro year, I knew was fantastic, but my DB room and my linebacker room outside of him has been a little shaky, and so I really wanted to shore that up because we were still winning games, but a lot of games last season came down to literally one score games, and I think in that point, one more defensive stand is all the difference rather than trying to find more weapons. How because we are still scoring most of the time, and so while Shiloh and Giesman were both very enticing prospects, I figured that I didn't want to kind of screw with the formula that my team already had with EJ Duffy always throwing to every man available. And I didn't want to draft a first overall guy after Reed Derby just came off of his first All Pro season. And maybe say that I didn't have as much confidence in him. So instead, I wanted to address the other side of the ball personally.
Makes sense to me. Moving into the third pick, Brady, you want to talk about the Admirals taking Kayvon Holland?
We knew pretty much as the season was going on that they were going to be taking a quarterback, and as soon as the draft order was released and finalized, we knew that whoever the Jackals did not take was going to the Admirals, two very quarterback needy teams, and with the Jackals going for Gordon Golden, Admirals went with Kayvon Holland. It's pretty much cut and dry, simple as that. They got the guy that they needed.
Chase Graggs, who was their starter last season, was probably the worst starter we've ever seen. It was brutal for the Admirals. Their first round pick was a wide receiver, Hez Watkins, and he really got to do nothing as a rookie because he couldn't get the ball thrown to him. So they addressed it with a first round pick here at quarterback. And in his debut, he had an insane debut game against the Sentries
Crazy.
with 400 passing yards and 5 touchdowns. So,
New quarterback.
it's a little too early to call anything yet, but a very, very promising start for Kayvon Holland. He outplayed Gordon Golden.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and then Pick 4 is obviously Brady. If you want to talk about it, the Salamanders draft pick, your team, the D lineman Deacon Black.
Well, I was just kind of obviously I'm happy made it to the Jupiter Bowl where I lost to the Corsairs,
Whoop, whoop.
sadly. And shut up. Anyways, I was not impressed with the defensive performance overall throughout the year. I mean, everything was kind of down. Olive Rusty and DeAndre Tulloch had great years, but other than that, everything was kind of in a slump. Everyone did a little bit worse. And I did not need to draft Shiloh Lamprey because after getting rid of Soren Kelsey, love that guy to death, but I still have Desmond Staller, who played great his rookie year. I'm hoping he continues to play great. And I still have Devontae Hodgins, who led the league in receiving and in touchdowns receiving. He's just great. Great offensive year for me. But the defense, I wanted to bolster it up. And with Alaric Dredd being off the board, I wasn't going to take him anyways. I figured why not add on another big body to the defensive line?
Adding in addition to uh, Tucker Borston and Keanu Mallory, that's a pretty ridiculous D line. Should Deacon Black pan out, it's a scary D line to have
Yeah.
to face for any team.
Quarterbacks
You know,
quiver
I
and
felt
shake at that
really,
D line.
Yeah,
I felt really safe taking him because I don't need him to be a superstar D lineman. Obviously, I would love for him to pan out to be amazing, but right now he's the D line 3, really. So
yeah. He definitely doesn't need to have an impact right away. He can develop under the greatest to ever do it in Tucker Borston, and maybe eventually be the replacement for Borston should his contract price be too high or he get old. And yeah, I like that pick for the Salamanders a lot. At the 5 spot, the Paladins took with a trade with the Leopards, which who got it from the Towers and then the Direwolves. So the Direwolves pick, the
Holy cow.
Paladins selected wide receiver Shiloh Lamprey. Which, oh my goodness,
but
how did the league let
this
this
was
happen?
it's through the usual culprits. That's how it ended up happening. Trade with the
Usual stuff.
Towers, where the Towers amassed, like they always do, somehow a crazy amount of picks, and they used it to get pick number 5, and then they immediately traded it away to the Leopards, who had a pretty good price, who paid a pretty heavy price for it, and then they immediately traded it to the Paladins, which was kind of
Yeah,
a
that move was so bizarre to me because the Leopards gave up their soul. Like a piece of their soul that they will never get back is gone, sold to the devil to get that pick. And then they went and traded it down immediately for less. That was so bizarre to me.
yeah,
And then they gave it to the Paladins through
and
all this
to the
tomfoolery. The
Paladins of all
Paladins
teams.
got the 5th overall pick. The Paladins, the near dynasty gets who's had some wide receiver. They have Garrett Breida, obviously the best receiver ever. But then behind him, they've had a lot of receiver struggles. That they draft a receiver or two every year, and if they just need another wide receiver, a wide receiver 2, to elevate the offense even more, and then they got Shiloh Lamprey at 5th overall. That's just insane. And in his debut, he put up like 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like,
Yeah, he's pretty
holy
scary
cow.
already.
That's just terrifying.
Now, I will say,
Which,
in Tony's some defense, I believe somewhere in the group chat, he was saying that he felt very peer pressured after his trade and with all the trading going on to trade back out of the top couple picks with how everything was happening because everyone was amassing so much capital that after he made the trade with the Towers, I think he was having a bit of buyer's remorse and he wanted to get picks back.
yeah, but when you commit, you can't just, pull back. 'Cause then you just damage yourself. You got to at least take that top 5 pick you gave up so much for. And I feel like the peer pressure was more so like pressure to not trade like that, not to undo it with a worse deal.
True.
It again, but then he just undid it and made it worse. But like
Yeah, so
look at Kristen here. When we traded into the top 5 picks, we stopped. Like that's pretty much all we did.
I gave up my
with those
soul for that
crazy.
number 2 pick. I gave up my entire. You think Tony gave up his soul? I gave up 2 full seasons practically for that pick.
Okay, but here's the thing. Look at what teams are good in the league and look at what teams aren't. Look at the teams. 3 top contenders are picked top 5 in this draft. That should never happen. This happens a lot.
True.
And like this is why these teams are great because they understand the value of superstars, the top guys to elevate your team and carry the lower level players around you. If you're a top 5 picking team, you shouldn't be like honestly, I think you should not be trading down because okay, you get a bunch of, thirds and a second and whatever. But if they turn into, average players, that's not going to affect your team as much as top a top player at the position in the draft.
Hmm.
Like you can get 2, C tier players. Like I would say that like Owen, talking about the 6th pick, when he had the 5 pick originally, everybody thought he was going to take running back Thurman Jiesman, which is the biggest hole on his team, the number 1 running back prospect. Well, he traded down with Tony and then traded back up to get 2 first-round picks, and he took the number 2 and number 3 running backs, which obviously could be a very solid move. But they both look kind of middle of the pack type players, and then Thurman Jiesman looks like the best rookie running back in the class. I think the star running back is going to elevate your team a lot more than 2 pretty okay ones.
I agree. Now, to be fair, I think for me giving up what I gave up for the number 2 pick to Will the Tyrants, the new expansion team, I do think the deal we made was fair. I traded picks in the first round. I gave him several more picks in this class and a first rounder and more picks next season to the point where, yeah, he's not immediately ahead, but he's going to find a superstar probably somewhere next draft after probably still a lesser season just because he is a very new team and then also has a lot more
I do
capital
like
to
that deal for
expand
Tyler.
on what he's going on with. Him and I were
His
both very adamant that this felt like a fair trade of I'm winning now, you're winning later. And that's what I
It's a
feel
good
like
point.
was
and
fair for mine and also for Brad's for trading up for the 4th. He gave up quite a bit for that as well with a very similar strategy. Um, with the Griffins, who are not
I think it was
currently really. Oh no, you traded with the Jackals. I'm sorry. Yes, the
I
pick
traded
was
with
the
the Jack,
Griffins. Yeah.
which I don't have a ton of faith in the Jackals. That's just me. I'm not a huge fan of them, but I feel like they're a solid team, but I don't think that they have enough to truly carry them. So, which is why I did that trade because I feel like I wasn't making a super team by trading away what I did. And with you trading, you got to keep in mind too, you're trading with the Tyrants, and they pretty much had to rebuild everything. So
Correct.
that is when I feel like it's okay to trade down to gain more picks, so you can not only draft more players, but hopefully get more stars or even average players because they will beat out the people on your current roster.
Right.
And you
I
weren't
agree with that.
trading for a top, you were trading for the number 2 pick. That's a big difference.
And with everything
It
going on in
is.
the league, how we knew the Jackals are going to take a quarterback. I didn't. I don't need a quarterback. Personally, on the Sabres with EJ Duffy
You
from
had your
season
pick of
4,
the
I
entire
had my
draft.
pick of the board. So, yeah.
Yep.
But anyways, we should probably keep moving on from this talk. Get back on
Yes.
track. To pick number 6, Thurman Jiesman with the Emperors. What do you think, John?
But we talked about it a little bit with the trade. The Towers allowed this pick to happen because he was going to go at 5. So instead, the Emperor snagged him at 6. And I think that's just an absolutely fantastic pick. They already have Prince Sorpian, who's a solid running back, but now they have this guy who they expect to be their star one. It's just a great, 1-2 combo, compared with the powerhouse of a tight end that is Wes Bowen. I really like the kind of unique offense that the Emperors are building, and I like how this adds to that. They are talking about getting a second baller tight end behind Wes Bowen. So I really like that unique take of focusing on running backs and tight ends and not really valuing the receiver position. And hopefully it works out for them.
It's certainly a different approach from everyone else in the league, always looking for those stars in the receiving game versus in the wide receivers in the traditional pass catchers. But I think the Emperors have got a good scheme going on where, at the very least, they're always going to be unique to watch and a very interesting opponent to guard and go against.
absolutely money pick at number
Mhm.
6. I think it's incredible value too at that pick, even though the teams above needed completely different things. It's incredible value at picks number 6.
Agreed.
Couldn't agree more. The next three picks were all wide receivers, which I'm just going to kind of fly through them really quick. The Glaciers got Jalen Hosalis. The Hoplites selected Zyron Williams, and the Sentries selected Jazz Cat Jr. All three of these teams needed to get a wide out, and they all three of them snagged one. We'll see which one ends up actually being the best here. But if I want to talk more about the 10th pick, which the Sharks landed defensive back Tyson Lane, who, sadly, because of Pat Ross's passing, Tyson Lane was the number one defensive back prospect in the draft. And for the Sharks to get him when their biggest need was DB all the way down at pick 10, I think is massive for them. Their DB room has been really, really bad recently. They have Justin Salas, obviously, who's a decorated veteran. But behind him, they had Ollie Rando, who they gave up a first round pick to acquire, who was never got up to the hype. He never really did anything substantial, and then he got injured, and he's going to be out for a good chunk of this season. And then they had three rookies last season to play in those spots, and they were all really, really bad. They needed to address this position, and they got the top prospect at pick 10, and he looks really good in camp and their week one game.
Yeah, I gotta say I'm terrified because, like we kept saying in the draft leading up to it, um, the last time the Sharks had pick number 10, they drafted Tiber Jericho, which we all know where that man has gotten them today. So I knew fully well going into this that my two biggest needs personally were linebacker and DB, and it was a very hard race for me on which one I wanted to take. I think if I took Tyson Lane at number 2, I don't think Alaric Dread would have fallen all the way to 10 to the Sharks, just because of the
Definitely not.
nature of linebackers. But it's just because of everyone else above the Sharks did not want DBs this draft, at least in the first round. He fell all the way down there. And frankly, I'm terrified. But yeah,
Yep. Following the Tyson Lane pick, we already talked about it a little bit. The Tower selected Rigo Fenum. They got Deegan Amuka 2 picks later. Two solid running backs, which I like the picks. If you're not getting Thurman Jiesman to get the number 2 and number 3 running back prospects for a hopeful 1-2 punch is a solid move. But I want to talk about pick 13, where the or pick 12, excuse me, where the Lancers selected the first tight end taken,
this is
and they
also
took Jason Strahan.
the first time we didn't go just straight down the draft classes of whatever position was being drafted at, because wide receivers all went in order. Jason Straffen was like, he wasn't even the second line tight end. He was,
I think he
what
was
was
like third or
he's the
fourth.
fourth. He's the fourth tight end, which
Yeah, that
so
was a bold
is a
pick.
bold pick. And so, for anyone not aware, Jason Straffen is out of Charlena with the description: gadget tight end, great at motions, can run sweeps, fast and technical. Can also line up at fullback. And Ty, after being absent from the league for quite a bit, comes back, is fully ready to get back into the JFL, and with his first pick, goes, yeah, I don't want these top prospects. I want my guy, and drafts a gadget guy who's hopefully going to be everywhere on the field and do everything he needs him to do in Jason Straffen.
Yeah, it's really a mind-boggling pick because they have DeMarcon Conquer, who is aging, former All-Pro tight end. Um, but he looked really good in their week one game. And to take Jason Strafen in the first round when tight ends notoriously like slip farther, and Olin Starks, like Jihad Jesko, these guys are still on the board. And like Olin Starks especially looks really, really good. Um, I
It's
think he could have
insane.
waited off on this and taken a top prospect somewhere
Yeah,
else.
I agree. I think he absolutely could have waited on this pick. I think Jason Strafen would have at least fallen to the second, if not third round, for
I think he would
sure.
have easily went to the third because, well, actually, I don't know about that because three tight ends did go in the second round in a row at the top of the round. So it's very possible that he might have gotten taken around there, but
Tight ends go
like,
fast just because once one person takes a tight end, they all go really quick because there's so few in every class. but I do think that he probably would have been there for the Lancers' second pick.
I absolutely think so.
Um,
Especially with like so many like studs on the board. Like they could have taken Amal Pierce or Bick Woods-Siskowski or Rover Petty,
yeah,
any of these defensive prospects, or even like a wide receiver, something.
now there is a object that maybe Ty just completely wants to steer clear of the Pat Ross investigation, and he just does not want to touch it. It's still the fourth tight end. Only the first, only Olin Starks for the tight end class was at the Giesman. The second and third guy were still there as well. It is mind boggling a little to see him so high up on this draft recap.
Probably the biggest reach of the draft, but we will see how that pans out. The rest of the picks in this draft, I'm not real concerned on. Like, just average picks taking things.
Yep.
We don't need to touch on that, but I want to go through and see, does anybody have like a crazy pick that they like in like the third round or later that they think is going to be a steal just off of projections? Well, first off, for mine, I know absolutely who I'm going to say, which is John Bain for the Lancers. Jackson, what round was he
Oh.
taken in?
I can give you that really quick. He was
He was
taken at the
he was
end of the
picked. He was
third.
the last pick in the third round.
He was.
Last pick in the third.
He was
Last
pick
pick
60.
of the third round in a trade that was my pick originally, given to the Lancers. He took John Bain, which
Oh
John
God.
Bain
Is look
looked just was the absolute best rookie across all training camps in training camp. Was just dominant, a game record. And then in his first game against the Paladins, he put up 3 sacks on Randall Corliss. Just like,
the
did he
leading
like? It
rushing
feels like
QB.
it's obviously too early to say that. It's too early to say, and it's like obviously an exaggeration and overreaction. But did the Lancers draft the next Tucker Borston already?
I
And
mean,
Ty's return to the league.
with with him putting 3 sacks on the leading rushing quarterback who we just put up on the Mount Rushmore because of that ability, like that's terrifying. You're telling me
Terrifying.
some random guy in an NFL equivalent, some random dude in the fourth round just sacked Lamar 3 times in his NFL debut? Like no. Like this is insane.
It's absurd.
And Tucker Borson was originally a Lancer. Maybe there's just something in the water over there, but
Yep.
holy crap. John Bain is about to become the bane of quarterbacks. He's going to live up to that namesake if he keeps going like this.
Yes, that's my take for the steal of the draft,
I thought he was taken
or who
higher.
I think will be the
I
steal of the
do
draft,
feel like
third round or later.
I feel like that is a very
Easy pick.
good pick. I feel like pick number 54 has potential as well.
Hester John by the Jackals. How did he look in his first game?
You want to talk about it?
I forgot how he did in his first game because I've been ugh,
Sure.
so
I'll
I'm currently going to go at that right.
sure. I've got the
Yeah, why don't you pull that up?
I've got the camp report right here with me from Jean. It says at the Jackals camp looked great, best linebacker at camp for the Jackals by a significant margin, which that's some pretty high praise. I mean, sure, the Jackals haven't always been the best team, but if you're out the gates from third rounder looking like the best player at your position, that's pretty good. That's pretty good pick value in the third round, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, I really think the Jackals nailed their
Oh,
draft class, and Hafter is a big part of
yes.
it. In training camp, he looked like across all training camps, arguably the best linebacker, up there with Alaric Dredd of the rookies. And I think this pick could definitely turn out to be a big steal for them and a big part of their turnaround should it happen.
actually going to take him if he fell to me in the
A
next
pick
round.
later. Oh,
Yeah, but no, in the pick later. Yes, I was actually going to take him, but if he was there, I forgot that I was right
Oh
underneath him.
yeah,
I
it
was
was the
going to
next.
take him because I thought he had great value, but which is why I was so angry. But anyways, yeah. So he had 9 tackles in his first game. He was tied for the leading tackler on the Jackals behind Jermaine Ball, who also had 9 tackles and a sack. Which not really that impressive as like a game goes, but I think first game 9 tackles.
That's a good
There's
start.
nothing
that's a
to
good
complain
game.
about there. I feel
That's a
like he
pretty good.
has a lot of. I feel like he has a lot of potential to develop, and especially because he's on the Jackals,
He's got some moments to
who
shine.
don't have a crazy linebacker core. He's gonna have a lot of reps. He's gonna have a lot of moments where he will get plenty of experience to develop. I feel like he will could very easily end up being a top linebacker in the league.
Yeah,
I think that John, like in addition to that, being having a lot of potential as a player, he is also a very natural leader and can rise in that linebacker room really early on and even be the leader of that linebacker room even as a rookie. Like I think there's a lot there for the Jackals to like.
I agree.
Yes, I agree.
Now, my personal pick of what looked really good for pick of value was the Tyrants Haywood Jones at pick 42. It is higher up there and at the top of round 3, but I know myself and multiple other people had this guy pretty high on their boards for value picks as well. Um, and Will, even brand new to the league, he did not do the season 5 Tyrants inaugural draft and came in partway through. This was his first draft, and he's already going down draft classes and reaching on guys who he thinks are going to be good. And I think this was like his first display of that, and I think this guy is going to be great. Um, Haywood looked awesome from his scouting report. The athletic guys are always really good. Um, and I think this is going to be one of the Tyrants' leading receivers, honestly, for a while. If he pans out like I think he is.
Very possible. It could be a good punch with AJ Cameron and him for catch passes from Ryan Captain. We'll see how that turns out. So it is our kind of just look at the draft. Also, Floyd Bavaro, the D lineman, is Mr. Irrelevant this season for my Corsairs. Hopefully, he can do something good in his career, but he is not playing. He's playing on the practice squad. We'll find out. But I
Um,
want to move on to
Before we go, there was
what
one more undrafted free agent that I wanted to talk about just real quickly. That
great
somehow
point
missed the
actually.
draft. Um, D line Tommy River. Apparently,
Right.
um, River, sorry. After the draft, had a freelance workout with the Corsairs camp, and in our news section, was talked about as being dominant at the Corsairs training camp before rookie training camps were fully completed. And immediately his stock in the undrafted free agency bidding shot up to where he had 2 million deals, the cap for undrafted rookies, by several teams. I think like 5 or 6. So
Yeah. So I really like Tommy River in the draft. Um, I was going to take him in a couple of my later picks. I really thought about it, and then I passed on him. And then I was between him and Floyd Bavaro at the Mr. Irrelevant spot. Um, and I picked Bavaro, which I'm very much regretting. And so then when he was an undrafted free agent, I brought him in with a plan to have a workout, see if do I want to sign this guy, and he just destroyed my offensive line. We had multiple drills and practices he participated in, but in this specific drill where he just did one-on-one pass rush reps, he did 10 in a row back to back, and he got like 4 sacks out of the 10. which is just ridiculous. Like that's on par with Kevin Gable and Jamal Carter, who are some of the best pass rushers in the league. So once that news broke, everybody started bidding on River, and I knew he was not going to be a Corsair. And the Tyrants landed him, so good for them.
It's nice to see those up and coming guys go to the new teams, and hopefully they'll develop some great talent so that they become competitive hopefully pretty quick into this league.
Yeah, so let's move forward to this season and our projections on who we think are going to win the divisions and make the playoffs this season. There's 5 divisions and only 2 wildcard spots. The races are all going to be hyper competitive and exciting. I think this might turn out to be the most exciting playoff races across the league that we've seen, which last season was pretty great. But I think the divisions that weren't competitive last season will be this time around. So, Brady, if you want to take it away, why don't we start in the East? What do you think's going to go on there? I know you're biased.
All right, so for the East, Sentries lost their first game in nothing short of what could be called glorious fashion, with Kayvon Holland dotting them up. Um, I think that their offense has potential, but their defense needs to step it up if they really want to compete for the division. The Griffins, they actually scored their first rushing touchdowns in a long time.
I think Ben
think
said
multiple
his stats
seasons.
were in like 16 or 18 games or something. Like it'd been multiple seasons since a rushing touchdown for the Griffins.
Yeah, just absurd. So, but
Wild.
I think the Griffins could potentially contend for the East, depending how the Leopards and Salamanders perform in some of their close matched games. I feel like if the Salamanders and Leopards maybe drop a few, like the Salamanders did last year in the middle of the season, I feel like they could easily contend. And same thing with the Leopards. I feel like they could also easily contend because they're kind of that middle of the pack team where if they string together a good few games, they can go anywhere. I mean, they made it to the Jupiter Bowl against the Paladins and lost by what, 1 point?
Correct.
Yep.
So, they're contenders. And then obviously, I would love if I pulled away. I really feel like a lot of the teams in the East didn't get any that much better than the rest of them. I feel like for the most part, we all kind of stayed the same skill level. So I think the race is really between the Salamanders, Leopards, and Griffins, depending on how the Salamanders and Leopards do.
I think it's pretty easily the Salamanders or Leopards. I really don't see the Griffins competing yet. I think it'd be a really dark horse candidate. I personally have the Salamanders
Yeah.
taking this division. I think the Leopards' defense is too underwhelming to really win this division, and the wildcard spots are so competitive right now with there only being 2 of them and divisions being so stacked that I think the Leopards have missed the playoffs again this season. Um, their defense just does not have enough guys and stars there. Their offense is great, but I see the Salamanders pulling off another division win.
Yeah, I just looked at the Griffins' schedule, and it's kind of rough for a team that didn't do all that great last season. So
Oh
I
no.
think they may have a hard time.
Yikes.
So I retract that statement.
That's
I think it's between
that's
the
hard to
Salamanders.
hear.
Yeah, week 2,
The
the
Salamanders,
Griffins play,
do the Salamanders
play the
Leopards play
Sharks.
each other week 8?
Yep.
Yeah, so week 8 could be a very exciting. I think it's a divisional week, so everybody's playing a division opponent. I think a lot of playoff races could be decided in week 8 this season, which will be very fun to see.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of
Yes.
stuff is going to come down to week 8, and it's going to be so exciting to watch.
I want to hear what Tristan thinks is going to happen in the North.
Oh boy.
Absolutely.
I don't want to undersell anything, but I do think that this is going to look very similar to last season, where it is going to be a complete a race between the Sabres, Emperors, and maybe the Direwolves are going to show flashes. Um, and I think the Glaciers are still in a bit of rebuild mode. I mean, Ray Bold just had an electric game with 186 yards, but they still lost that game with only 7 points. And Ray Bold was like almost the only offense. Um, I think the Glaciers have got a bit of ways to go. I do think Ike Michaels is a good bridge for them, but I do think they're gonna need something better there than Ike Michaels soon, potentially next season. Um, and I think the Direwolves are just a few key pieces missing from fully contending for this division. And so I think the Sabres and Emperors are the two most complete teams in the North. And again, I think it's going to come down to we're going to be either dead even or like one game apart by the end of like by the start of week 8 or and point different it's going to come down to point differential because I think these are the two most complete teams, especially with the Emperors just now with Giesman fixing their running back issue. I see one of us two winning that division. Not hand. I think somewhat handedly. I think we're going to see a very similar record in the North to what we saw last season.
I could agree. I agree a lot with that take. The Sabres are probably my favorite to win the division. They just went to the semifinals. They have a lot of very, very powerful components to their team right now with EJ Duffy, Bray Bold, the
Reed
receiving
Derby,
core,
sorry.
and then obviously Alec Greb. Did I say Ray Bold?
Yes.
My bad. Reed Derby just made his first All Pro. He's a great player. But I see the Emperors as a rising star team, like a rising candidate to make potentially a wild card spot if somebody falters this season. But I would give the Sabres my edge for who I think is going to win the division. But the Emperors are coming. The Emperors are coming for sure.
I agree. And I think the Emperors have got the schedule this season to do it, too, after looking at it earlier tonight. I think
That is true.
I think with the schedule they've got right now, they've got a window to make their first playoff appearance.
Be cool to see.
Mm-hmm. I think,
How are we feeling
Let's
about the
move
West?
down.
or should we say? Let's save the
Yes,
West.
let's
No, no,
move.
no. Let's save the West for last. Let's save the West for last because I think
Right.
that's gonna
I
be.
agree with
Okay, so
that.
we're going to the.
Yeah, let's go to Central next.
Okay, I feel
Let's talk about
like
it.
I think the Rhinos are
this
pretty
is
strong still.
gonna.
It's still the same team, you know.
Mackay showing his head for the first time tonight.
You
That's
know,
it.
the
That's all you got.
Central. Yeah, the Central is really really interesting because the Kingfishers, they don't really have the star power that a lot of other teams have, but a lot of really solid players throughout their roster, and they made it to the playoffs this season or this last season, season 5, and it was kind of surprising to see how well they did, and obviously the Rhinos and Towers are both great teams, and I feel like any of those 3 teams could win the division. So
I think it's really between the Rhinos and the Towers. I think the Kingfishers are going to fall off heavily this season, even though they did win the division last season. Um, they have, like you said, the star power thing. I think they have no star power. I think Ronnie Wiley is like, a stud quarterback, and that's their best player. But like they had no All Pros last season. I think the only All Pros on the team were like fringe All Pros. Devin Pacer was really a couple seasons ago, but he played most of it with the Griffins. CJ Procyse was an All Pro a couple seasons ago, but he was awful last season. Quinn Swallow was an All Pro season 1. But like other than that, they like don't have stars. Like they need some star power if they want to get up. I think their team stayed stagnant this season as the rest of the league got better around them. I have a very bold prediction that the Kingfishers are going to be a bottom 5 team this season. So I think the divisions between the Towers and the Rhinos, gonna. At first, I thought the Towers were a massive Super Bowl contender, which they still probably could be. because it's just week one. But they just got whooped by the Emperors in week one, like really bad. And I don't know.
And
I'm
the
kind of
Towers
shook. I'm kind
lost
of
their first
shaking on
game.
the Towers.
So
Yeah, that's why I'm so
Yeah,
scared of the
that's
Emperors
what I'm
right now.
saying. Yeah, the Towers just got whooped by the Emperors, so I'm shaking on the Towers right now. I think the Rhinos are going to win the division if I had to predict right now, but the Towers can definitely contend for it, and they could contend for the wild card spot. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with you, John.
Unfortunately, the Hoplites are stuck in mediocrity until they can find some more replacements for um, never making any moves and only purely drafting off of their own capital, which I understand the desire to do this. I don't think they ever found the right amounts of star talents to be able to warrant that decision from the previous manager, and I'm excited to see what new manager Jack will be looking to do with this team.
Well, Hopwood's kind of interesting because like they've had a lot of really good, really promising rookies who are like this team should be fantastic. They had a winning record their first season. They were pretty okay last season. Like they should be a good team with all the studs they've had at rookies, but then all the rookies fall off in their second season. They've had
it's
multiple
like they
rookie
just don't
linebackers
click.
make All Pro. Jeremy Young made All Pro as a rookie. Greg Regenreg made All Pro as a rookie. Both of them have been mediocre at best since. Drek Lettler, their running back, led the league in touchdowns as a rookie and had like 800 something yards, and then has been mediocre at best since. They just can't get like these players to like. That's not the only examples. Like they just can't keep players to stay good, which is just really unfortunate for them. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it's a culture problem. Um, but yeah, I don't see the Hoplites contending at all this season.
Statement, I think. But I think it's kind of a good place for a new manager to come into because it gives him the chance to learn how stuff works and watch what teams do with their own teams. And he'll be able to learn from experience and not just be thrown into an already good team.
True. We want to move on to the South.
Yes.
So the South, it was the most
I think the Cobras and Tyrants
uncompetitive
are not winning
division.
it.
The Cobras and Tyrants. Well, it was the most uncompetitive division in the league last season. It should have been a cakewalk for the Lancers, who are the only really established team there. It had two expansion teams,
Three if you can't.
but the Lance
It's
fell on their
two new
face, and
ones and the
Cobras
Jackals.
ran away with the division real easy. Am I cutting out?
No, I think my voice is just really desynced. Is what's going on. Is basically like I start talking and then you guys are hearing it later. I think is what's happening at certain times.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna go on a little rant, and then I'll say when I'll say one of you guys' names to bring you in.
Go for it.
Okay, so the South was extremely uncompetitive last season, and the Cobras pulled out an easy win just with a really easy schedule and an adequate team. But I think the Lancers, with Ty, getting back into it, I think the Lancers are back and are going to fight for that division. I think the Jackals got insanely better, and I think the Tyrants also got ridiculously better. I think the Tyrants are probably the weakest candidate there, but I do not see the Cobras fighting for this division again because they traded all of their draft picks. I think their first draft pick was in like the fourth round, maybe the third, and neither of the draft picks look good. I think they stayed completely stagnant, if not regressed, and that the Jackals and Lancers are going to fight for this division, with maybe the Cobras being a dark horse candidate. But I really see the Lancers winning this division this season. They just had a really, really good showing against the Lancer or against the Paladins, excuse me, where they barely lost. And what do you think, Brady?
Don't see the. I want to have faith in the Tyrants, but I don't think that they can compete with the Jackals and Lancers this season. I feel like in the future they absolutely have a chance, maybe even next season. But between the Lancers and the Jackals, I think Lancers are back. They're ready to go. the Jackals did get better, but everything has to click in order for everything to go right. They have a lot of rookies, a lot of new members on the team. Everything has to go right. Whereas the Cobras absolutely fell off. They just did pretty much nothing. They might as well have not even drafted. So I agree with you. I think Lancers walk away with this one.
Tristan.
I think a lot of that is true. I think the Cobras are set in their mindset of trying to build the island of misfit toys and trying to take the scraps from other teams, which I admire Ryan a bit for that, especially in his first season. But I think going forward, he needs to find his own players, um, and build up this team with his own picks because I he had at one point the first overall pick at some point during last season. Then he traded it away for not a lot. Um, it took. If you want to look at what each person paid for to get one of the top 5 picks, the number 1 pick overall was the least paid for pick, which is insane to say out loud, but it was. So
Brutal.
I think the Lancers absolutely do have this division. Um, I think the Jackals are a dark horse team. The Jackals are like my sleeper pick in this division. If they hit their out of conference games right and they can win everything, maybe outside of the Lancers. But I think the Lancers are going to run away with this one, even with their loss to the Paladins in week 1. I still think they're gonna. I think they're gonna run this division this season.
Very, very possible. And that leaves the Golden West, the division with the most Jupiter Bowl titles, 2 for the Paladins and 1 for the Corsairs. And also another Jupiter Bowl appearance with the Sharks. This division is easily the best in the league, producing multiple playoff teams last season, the number 1 and the number 2 seed. I think this is going to be an absolute pit fight. I do not know who's going to win this division. You have the Corsairs who just won the Jupiter Bowl, and I don't think they got much better because they got rid of Mario DeBerry. They got rid of multiple guys. They got no real promising rookies. They didn't draft until the 3rd round. So I think the Corsairs stayed stagnant, but stagnancy from the Jupiter Bowl isn't really a bad thing. You have the Paladins, who I think got a lot better with Lamprey and Rover Petty and these draft picks they're able to acquire. And also, being basically a dynasty. And then you have the Sharks with Tiber Jericho, who got better in the draft. I have no idea who's going to win this division. Tristan, what do you think?
I think the Sharks are in terrifying right now. They got the number 1 DB at pick 10, and then later on in the second round, I think they also got another wide receiver who's apparently already like top level on that roster, and then their number 3 receiver in their first game was the one that went nuclear with Tiber Jericho. So you can't guard their number 1 or even their number 2 because then the number 3 is just going to burn you. I think the Sharks are always in a playoff push as long as Tiber Jericho is rostered. And I think that the Sharks are always going to be contenders, if not just missing playoffs, because Tiber Jericho is always just going to will them to be, at the very least, a well-recognized team.
You think the Sharks are going to win this division this season?
I think a lot has to go right, but I think the Sharks have a shot at it. I think any one team in this this conference has a shot at winning the division so long as they can win their in-conference games, because they are the powerhouse of this league, really, in all reality. And if you're outside of their region, you should be shaking in your boots if you see them on your schedule, if you're anyone but a top 5 contending team, I would say.
What do you think, Brady?
I'm going to start with the Sharks here. I think they're a good team. I think they're a really good team. Their defense is solid. I wouldn't call it amazing or a top defense in the league, but it's solid. It'll get the job done. But their entire offense is Tyler Jericho. If Tyler Jericho has a bad game, they're not going to win. If they play a decent team.
Okay, I would
God
disagree with
forbid.
you there. I would disagree with you there heavily, actually, because they got the top running back prospect last season in Jordan Plant, who's entering his second season, who I think looks really good. And then you have Mason Mountain in the receiving core to lead the receiving core, who is one of the greatest receivers of all time. We just put on our Mount Rushmore. Former All-Pro Travis Amora, who just went crazy, and then the rookie DeMar Rand, and then former All-Pro tight end. I think it's a good offense without Tiber, which obviously you need Tiber, I think, if you want to contend at all. But I wouldn't say he's the whole offense.
I didn't really mean he was the whole offense. I meant that, like, if he's not there, they're not going to win the division. I think they absolutely need him if they want to win the division and make it to and win the Jupiter Bowl. So, but also if he doesn't play super great, if they play a good team, they can easily lose a few and easily get out of contention for the division. I feel that the Admirals have a interesting chance on it. I feel like they're kind of similar to the Sharks in the sense that they are very solid, and they just need to string together enough games outside of the divisional games. Because who knows who's going to win those divisional games? Any one of those teams could win. So I think it's going to come down to who wins more outside of the division. Because I could see everyone losing one division.
I will say I don't see the Admirals as contenders at all.
And obviously the
outside
Pens
of
are the
anyone.
Pens. I think they have a chance, but not as much as teams. Of course, the Jupiter, they have a really good chance. The Paladins have a really good chance because they're the Paladins. But I think it's going to come down to who is going to win the most non-conference games.
I think this division is so dominant right now, and that I personally I think the Paladins got a lot better. They were the 2 seed last season. They got better. The Corsairs didn't. With Shiloh Lamprey, Randall Corlin looking great again. I think that the Paladins are going to win this division. If I had to make a prediction, thinking about it, and I actually have a bold take here. I think the West is going to deliver 3 playoff teams and have both the wild card spots. I think the Corsairs are going to finish third. My own team, I think they're going to finish third in the division and make the playoffs. I think it's going to be Paladins, Sharks, Corsairs.
It's a bold claim, Johnson. We'll see if it plays off.
That is my claim. So that is our division predictions, playoff predictions. Do we have anything else we want to add there?
I think if you want the entire West, if you want 3 teams from the West to go to playoffs, I think all 3 of those top teams have to win every game outside of their conference. It's a must. And they got to keep the in-conference games close. Because there's no other way. Because there's going to be another team somewhere that's going to do the same. So.
Yeah. All right. What's our runtime at?
We are at 104. And that's
Nice.
with the added
that
extra.
include,
That does include everything on the front end, yes.
Okay.
So about a little under an hour.
All right. Let's move into our next segment. Move on from the playoffs of this season. I want to talk more about players. The season 5 class is entering their season, and I want to talk about who we think are gonna make the biggest leaps and become stars of this league going into their second season. So I'll let you guys think about who you want to take for that, and I'll kick it off with an easy pick. Towers wide receiver Dante Okada, who started off this season with like 187 yards. I think Dante Okada is going to be an absolute superstar in this league after being one of the first receivers off All Pro as a rookie. I think he's going to be just the absolute number one for the Towers over Eli Monk, who is a two-time All Pro, and be one of the defining receivers of the league for a few years to come.
I think the funny thing with that is Soren Kelsey's in that wide receiver room.
It is funny.
Don't forget
He's
that
the receiver
the
3.
Towers acquired Soren Kelsey as well. Yep, which kind of happened to the Salamanders. But I think you are right on with that prediction. The only thing is, well, not the only thing is, it's how many receptions are the other wide receivers going to get, because he's the guy.
Yeah. All right. Do you have some picks from you guys?
I do. I think I might have the biggest sleeper one, or the farthest down one from the draft, who's gonna be insane. Rayshawn Calpary to the Sentries in round 3, mind you, the top rookie running back from last season, who made All Pro his first season and put up an insane stat line for being a rookie. The entire lifeblood and offense for the Sentries last season. I think he's here to stay.
Great pick.
I'm
Great
gonna
pick.
go
Offensive Rookie of the Year.
even farther. I've got
Go ahead.
a few that I want to address real quick. I'm not going to go very deep into it. I'm just pretty much going to say their names. But I feel like A.J. Cameron has a lot of potential to take a jump. Taken in the 5th round by the Tyrants. He was kind of the only bright spot on the team, one of the only ones. And then also Donnell Bryant taken at pick 69 by the Rhinos. I feel like he could very easily take a jump on the Rhinos line.
I really like those picks.
They're solid picks. How about Barik Bey on the Admirals, winning Defensive Rookie of the Year, also in the 3rd round.
Oh, yeah.
DB. That man's a stud.
I love Barik Bey. I think that he's a fantastic prospect. I really wanted to draft him. And then, yes, he went on to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year. I expect him to continue the dominance as like the face of the Admirals. Very good player. I also want to stay in kind of my hometown bias of the Corsairs. I think running back Rondale Sowell, who is the RB2 for the Corsairs, has an opportunity to take a jump and maybe even leapfrog Icy Danzler for the number 1 running back on the Corsairs, which Icy's a future Hall of Famer. I think that's a possibility. I'm really high on Sowell.
Yeah, that's possible, because at some point, Icy is gonna have to retire. So I think Sal's a good spot to take over that reign at the moment. Another council member. Sorry, go ahead.
Kind of similarly to your running back situation there, I have Desmond Staller on my team.
I was just gonna say the same thing.
Who was an absolute
Yeah.
stud as a rookie wide receiver. And my other wide receiver, he was amazing, and Desmond Staller still had 700 yards, multiple touchdowns. I think it's really just going to be who gets more receptions, who gets more opportunities, and who's going to be the leader in that wide receiver room. They're both elite.
What do we think?
Good takes.
What do we think about Remy Carnegie, drafted by the Corsairs and immediately traded to the Griffins? He had a pretty good season for himself last season, if I remember correctly. He made it to the rookie team, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's a good pick. I like that pick. I think Remy Carnegie has a lot of potential, especially in like that weaker D line room for the Griffins to be like the number one guy for them. And I definitely do regret trading Remy Carnegie um, after drafting him. I think he has a lot of potential.
I agree.
I think another thing to point out here really quickly is obviously he was taken in the first round, but Draymond Daniels on the Rhinos, I feel like with a season under his belt, he's going to be that much better.
Very, very possible. Just give me 1 sec. My call is being buggy.
Okay. Hey, Tristan.
Yeah.
Tristan,
Yes.
what do you think about Desmond Stellar?
Des! Des! God damn it! I gave up the pick.
What was mine originally?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. There we go.
Yes.
On my end. Okay.
Should have drafted him at number.
So that's
Should
some
have drafted him at 32.
That's some of our exciting sophomore season picks for this season 6 campaign. So yeah, that'll wrap up our second Around the JFL podcast episode. A little bit of a shorter one. We'll have more episodes coming out throughout the season to keep an eye on around the league and all the comings and goings of players, talent, and storylines. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Woo!